You don't want to spend the majority of your day stuck inside staring at screens. Back when I was in college, I had this friend who we can just call Michael, because I don't need to drag his name through the mud because he was a good guy. But this Michael, instead of going out to parties and instead of hanging out with us when we go visit someone's friend, go to an apartment party, whatever, instead of really doing anything that could be resembling living an interesting life, Michael would stay inside and watch the same old movies over and over again. Only a handful of them, too. He would play video games, and even his cooking was very repetitive. He would cook the same few things over and over again. And it's becoming a much more common thing, especially after the way 2020 has gone. But Michael was never happy with this life. He may not have been upset with it, but he never appeared anything more than just tolerating. He was just existing. I would go to class and I would be gone all morning. I'd go out and get lunch with some friends, and then I would come home, and it'd be, early afternoon. I'd be playing some video game on the PlayStation or something, and I would hear his alarm clock going off. And he'd be hitting the snooze button over and over again at 2 o'clock, 2:30. And this process went on for like 30 minutes to an hour some days. To me, this was like all the telltale marks of someone who has depression or maybe anxiety issues. I'm not qualified to say exactly what Michael's problems were, but this was something that went on for a long, long time. I mean, as long as I remember him, and I lived with him for 3 years. Now, on the surface, he was like a normal guy. He was, reasonably good looking. He was fun to hang out with if you knew him. He was a great guy. He was a great friend. He had a good looking girlfriend, like total knockout, blonde, in good shape, and she was sweet. She was a nice girl. And then one day, something happened. His girlfriend lost someone close to her, a relative, and Michael wasn't there for her. It may seem like something where he should have done more. He should have been more emotionally available and more supportive, but that just wasn't who he was. And I think everyone that knew him knew that he wasn't that kind of person. He would kind of look at you and process what you told him. And he was very even keeled, very logical. He almost never got emotional. He almost never got worked up. So to me, and I only knew him for a few years, this wasn't a surprise to me. And this is his high school sweetheart. This is a girl that knew him for a lot longer than I did. And maybe she just never thought about it. Maybe she never realized it. But she was so distraught and so upset that he wasn't there for her in her time of need that they broke up. And what made things worse was, very, very shortly after this, I want to say a couple months tops, Michael's friend, one of his best friends, someone he knew for a long time, and someone that lived with him for years, he swooped in and made a move on his now ex-girlfriend, and then they started dating. And, Michael, he was, it wasn't that he was necessarily bad with women. He just didn't really put himself out there. He would stay at home all night. I would constantly ask him every single time I went out, no matter where I was going or who I was going with. Hey man, we're just gonna go hang out with just a couple of people. It's gonna be really laid back. We don't have to get super drunk. If you want to come, just have a couple of beers. You can bail after that. That'd be awesome if you would come. And every once in a blue moon, he might say yeah. But he was just not comfortable putting himself in those positions. He didn't mind if it was at his own place, if it meant people were coming over to his apartment. Then he was kind of fun. He was actually a lot of fun, especially once you got him drinking. He was a good guy. It just, when you got him out in these, I don't know, these unfamiliar, uncomfortable situations, it freaked him out. It gave him anxiety. I don't know what the actual issue was, but it seemed to be something that was deep in who he was. Even with his propensity to play the same video games over and over again and watch the same movies over and over again, it was like he feared change. He feared the unknown. I don't know. I haven't seen this guy in many years, and we kind of lost touch as many friends do after college. I remember looking him up a couple of times online, Facebook or whatever, and I remember seeing him single and working a very good job, but the kind of job where you can kind of just put your head down and ignore the world and quietly live a successful life, but maybe not the happiest life. I don't know. Maybe he's found someone since then, but not since I've last looked. And I think about Michael once in a while. I think about a lot of people, especially after what's happened this year. They're becoming these shut-ins, and they stay inside, and they get on their screens. They have their Zoom calls, and they get on social media, and they watch Netflix. And I'm watching people slowly become conditioned to this new normal. People are getting more accustomed to this strange new world where everything's just that much more impersonal. People are, less social with each other, and humans are a eusocial species. We're supposed to be in contact with other people. I watch this growing agoraphobia. People will, in a sense, they get triggered by these old videos where they'd see crowds of people like, oh my God, look at how we used to act. Can you believe we used to stand this close to one another? As if it was ever a problem in the past, just because now we've been conditioned to stay away from each other. But we're not just staying away from each other in a physical sense. We're staying away from each other in a social sense, and people are becoming depressed by this. They're down. They're suffering in all these ways because even though they're surviving, they're not living. And that's what Michael did. He was surviving. He wasn't living. I think about him a lot because I was very close to becoming this way. I was someone that would say I was introverted. I didn't like going out, and I often wouldn't. And then as I got older, as I went to college, and I started drinking and hanging out with different people, I started going out more. And my life improved immensely. I met so many interesting people, so many good friends, people I still talk to this day. It completely changed who I am. It helped me become a better person. It helped me become comfortable going into new situations. It helped me create this whole path to manliness. It helped me meet all sorts of interesting people online. But my fear is that the longer we get stuck shut in, the longer we stop going out to bars and to restaurants and concerts and even movie theaters, the more comfortable we're going to get staying inside, being alone, avoiding each other. You know, I'm not saying there's a perfect solution. Like, nobody wants to see an increase in deaths, but I think we're going to see that one way or another with the rise of suicide. You know, people are really suffering now. There's a great sense of loneliness, and this has kind of been on the surface for a long time, just not quite to this extent. And 2020 just seemed to have brought it to a boiling point. But with the rise of social media and the internet and the way that our world has just become much more digitized, and it's gone more and more online. You know, it's cliche, but people are more connected than ever, and yet they've never been more lonely. So I don't know if there's a closing thought to this. I don't know if there's a point to it. I see a lot of people starting to change their daily habits and their routines, and they're becoming more and more like Michael. And I don't think it's a good path to go down. There's a better path out there. Life's imperfect. There's always going to be risks, but some of the greatest things happen to you when you start taking these risks. There's nothing good is going to come from locking yourself inside and being afraid of everything. I guess the final thought is, don't be afraid to put yourself out there and take a few chances and to see what good may come of it.